So today we're going to be looking at the top 10 contact center strategies. This is part one. It's a two-part webinar. I'm Jonty Pearce. I'm the editor of Call Center Helper, and delighted to be joined by Paul Cooper, who's a customer service expert, well known for his work in the Institute of Customer Service and Ford, and Mike Murphy, who's a territory manager for Interactive Intelligence. Been with Interactive Intelligence for quite a number of years, and
4.5 years,
and even longer within the contact center
yes.
field. So, so we've got some expert opinion for you today. And we're also going to be doing, as we go through the webinar, with each strategy we'll be asking for your top tips, and there is a bottle of champagne for each tip. Reminder, it's a two-parter. The second part is going to be in 3 weeks' time. So we're going to be talking about strategy. So what I'd like to know is, what is the last contact center initiative you were or currently are involved with? So maybe you've been involved with a technology project, maybe you've been doing something with motivation or attrition, or it could be something to do with recruitment or so on. So Mike, what was the last one that you've been involved with in terms of?
So a very nice, refreshing one for me, Jonty, was a process automation discussion where like regular sort of invitations for customers to have appointments, the booking of those appointments, the changing of those booked appointments, exploring how we can automate those processes in software was the last initiative I was working on, which was very, very exciting and had some big results for the customer.
Well, we've got the audience starting to type in some of these. Suzanne has been involved in a reduction of credit spend. Danny has been involved with a new call recording solution. Frederick introducing web chat, which we were talking about in just a little while ago. Elsa's involved in an agent challenge for achieving KPIs. Sarah's also got a new, looking at new call recording system. Emma looking at motivation to achieve KPIs. Nigel's doing some campaigning work. Denise is looking at a contact center telephony system replacement. Jerome's looking at integrated back office CRM. Philly is looking at recruitment. Paul, what was the last initiative you were involved with?
People. It was an attrition project. A company with too high a level of attrition wanted to look at why and where and how, and in fact we may get to that in a month's time or 3 weeks' time. It's one of the projects. Just a little trailer there for the next webinar. But yes, really the why turnover in a contact center is as high as it is, and there really is no need for it to be at the sort of levels that many organizations have it.
So Sarah's involved in looking at Net Promoter Score for customer surveys. We did a webinar on that last year. A new CRM system for telephony replacement project. Lorraine's looking at CRM contact management project. And Rich was involved with the IVR rebuild on CSR skills matrix, forecasted through workforce management to improve utilization. So it looks like it's quite a joined up project. So that's some of the initiatives you've been involved with. Now what we're going to have a look now is have a look at the top 10 contact center strategies. And so Paul, if you'd like to share with us what is the number 10 on your list of the top 10. So I guess we're counting down, Paul.
Yes, nice graphic there, Jonty. It's very good. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to mention the fact that I don't know about you, but I've been going through magazines and internet stuff, and there's been a lot of talk about strategies for 2014, as if there is at the beginning of any new year. But I'd have to say, and actually that list you just read out, Jonty, of projects and things, they are operational issues, and very important operational issues. What I've tried to do, together with Mike, is to go one level above that, to try to look at a genuine series of issues that affect call centers as a whole, or contact centers as a whole, some of which, let's be honest, may be outside of your total responsibility or your authority. But perhaps you can influence it, and perhaps you can get someone to just step back, and instead of looking at the day-to-day issues of the call center, look at the long-term issues. What's it going to look like in a year's time or 2 years' time or whatever? Someone needs to keep doing that in the organization. So number 10 for me starts off with people, and it's the fun and morale side of the business. And the first one, I think we ought to have a little poll on the first one, Jonty, if we can. Do you and your staff look forward to coming to work?
Okay, so the first poll, do you and your staff look forward to coming to work? Just put the poll up there. The answers are always, often, sometimes, seldom, or not sure. I don't suppose we've got an answer here for just sort of it. Do you enjoy coming to work? Your staff don't. If you'd like to put that into the chat rooms. So let's see what the results. Just waiting for a few of you to vote. If you could vote in the little box on the panel, would be good. We've got a number of people who've said sometimes into the chat room. I'll just close that and share the results. So let's have a look at the results we've got here. 8% always.
Very good.
53% often, which is probably higher than I would thought. 30% sometimes, 5% seldom, and 4% not sure.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm not totally surprised at that, partly because I think the result is a little bit skewed by the fact that people who come to these webinars and who want to learn and who want to get involved tend to be the people that care. If you don't care about all this sort of stuff, or your organization maybe even doesn't let you do this stuff, then maybe we don't get them in the first place. But it is good to see that it happens. I can't see any reason in working for a company long term if it's not a pleasure to go to work and look forward to perhaps the future and higher responsibilities and enjoy it even more. That's everything that's happened to me in my career. So no, I'm not surprised at it, but I'm pleasantly happy about the result.
Okay, wonderful.
Very encouraging.
Well, just before we dive back to Paul, just a reminder that we're going to be collecting top tips. So what we'd like to do is look at top tips for each of the strategies we're dealing with today. So if you have any tips on how to improve fun or morale in the contact center, if you'd like to type them into the tips box, and we'll pick them up in a few minutes, and we'll read them out. And there's a bottle of champagne for the best answer. So Paul, back to you with your strategy on how to improve fun and morale.
Don't want that one. Go back to there. Right. The second one is, does performance vary in your contact center due to the mood or the day or the week or the month? And do you know why? And I think the second part of that question is probably more important. We always hear about Friday afternoons or Monday mornings, or perhaps if you're 24/7, issues that happen on other days of the week. But stepping back from your organization and saying, why do we get these variances of performance? I personally believe that's one thing that should be looked at if you're really looking to maximize both performance and morale. Now, the third one, I'd actually like to put out there as a question, and again, audience, if you can help me answer this one. I've got hundreds of these on my files. Do you have any silly rules to control staff that should be dropped? Now, what I really mean, there, well, put that one up for that. You can type your answers in the chat box. What I mean by that is what Tom Peters once said, that silly rules in contact centers are the things that you can do normally at home that they won't let you do when you go to work. Now, obviously, there are some of those things that probably should be controlled, but it's incredible. Some of the petty rules on going to the toilet, petty rules on work stations and whether you can tidy them up or not, or whether you can put up personal stuff. The reason why I'm asking the question is not necessarily the rule itself, but have you recently had a good look at all the rules, and are they getting a bit stale? Are they out of date? Are there things, or for that matter, have you got the rules but the staff aren't doing them anyway? So I'd be very interested to see whether you've got any silly ones that you think are silly. Remember, don't be too conservative. This is a totally anonymous poll here that we're asking the questions on. So if you've got anything silly, or you've heard of it from other people or whatever, let's have them in there so that we can publicize them.
We've got a rather bashful audience today. So we've got Sarah has said no eating at desks.
No eating at desks.
Silly rule, which could easily be dropped, and that's the key one we've had.
That's quite common. That is quite common, and yet it's the effect of it. Of course, you don't want people dropping crumbs all over keyboards, but if someone would rather carry on working and have a nibble, as it were, rather than take time off when they don't particularly want it, whatever is wrong with that? Unless it's this health and safety thing about drop-in drinks or something like that. There has to be a way to fix silly ones like that. And I have heard about that in many different places. I can't defend it.
Gemma, it sounds like, is working in a hot desk environment, is saying no pictures or personal stuff on desks, which is a bit, that's certainly a bit...
it's common.
Rather soulless.
It's common, and I'm not sure where I stand on it, because I don't quite know why companies put that rule in the first place. The friendliest, better customer service places I've walked into in the last 20 years seem to have cuddly toys and pictures of family and stuff. But if there's a good reason for it, at least explain what that is, because no one's ever explained it to me.
Vuta says the supervisors can only use their PCs between the hours of 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock, which I guess they're encouraging people to spend time on the floor, but it's a bit like, I do that to my son on his Xbox, restricting his access. I'm not sure.
I think this is a classic one of believing everyone is guilty because we've had someone out of 1,000 perhaps abuse the privilege. Again, for goodness sake, if a rule is put in, and if, dear audience, you have put that rule in, people need to be told why, and they need to buy in. If that's all fine, then you can put as many silly rules in as you want. But if not, people will find ways around it. And I saw one a couple of months ago where the staff were not allowed to physically walk across and talk to the supervisor during their shifts. Well, what happened was that the supervisor's emails was clogged up because the staff wanted answers on stuff. And they just, the idea was people aren't walking about all the time, but the result was lack of productivity. So, yeah, we can move on from that, but by all means, keep sending these things into the chat room because we sit around for hours afterwards looking at them and using them and feeding them back to you. Okay, let's look at the last one here. Are any of the fun things you're doing becoming stale? Now, I use the word stale because whenever I go into contact centers on a Friday, it's usually cake day. And so what I'm saying there is fun things are great. And usually if they're thought of by the staff or thought of by everybody in a team environment, they're refreshed every now and then. But sometimes these fun things are either put in by management or put in 2 or 3 years ago, and everybody's really fed up with them. And no one's actually got the nerve to put their head above the parapet and say, can we do something else? Could we find a different way to measure this? Do we all have to wear funny hats on a particular day? It's just the checking issue. Go back, stand outside it, and say, is it still relevant? I believe you should have fun things, don't get me wrong, but I also believe that some of them are a very short one-hit one. If you celebrate a particular day every year, is that becoming stale, for example? So I leave it to you, but again, if you've got any of those weird ones, put them in the chat room. So that's the end of that one, Jonty. Why don't we hand over to you for a quick summary of top tips?
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at your top tips for fun and morale. So let's just put the first tip up on the screen. Helen says fun and morale doesn't mean lots of pounds or dollars. It starts from simple conversation with your staff that lets them know what they do is valued and costs nothing.
Absolutely.
And Danny has said always let the staff determine what fun they want, as that way I tend to get much greater participation.
Quite right.
What might be fun to one person may be absolutely embarrassing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it involved a public role.
Debbie, regular dress down days, team drinks, lots of biscuits, crisps and fruit, and encouragement outbreaks of morale. Have a laugh. Really nice.
And after all of that, free membership of a gym, I think.
That would be good. Gemma, be nice to the team. Generally try to make their experience of work a good one. It's simple, but definitely effective.
I agree.
And we'll take another one by Suzanne. Build a robust and effective social committee in your work and run it as a mini business.
That's good.
Quite nice if you've got a social committee. If used to work at a company where we put £5 a month into the social committee, and the company would double that, and would match fund it effectively. Yeah. And then if we hit a particular target, they'd top it up a bit further, and we had some wonderful days and nights out, and it really built
I agree.
Wine tasting we did one night after work. It was just all sorts of lovely things like that. So
yeah, you spend so long at work, you know, the recognition of family, recognition of relationships, very important.
So, do you want to take us through your next strategy, Paul?
I certainly do, Jonty. Right, number 9, do all channels well. Now, by that I mean what we've done over the last 10, 15 years is just add channels. I can't actually think, other than quill pen, of anything dropping off the other end. But we've got phone, we've got web chat, we've email, text, social media, we've got mobile, and we've got, of course, still letters. I mean, I know several companies that have to answer letters. Are you doing all of them well? Are you geared up to do all of them well? Because if you're not actually doing that one well, you are actually better off closing it down and waiting until you can do it well. And there are more than that, as you out there will know. So it's knowing how to do them well, having people that understand these things doing them well as well. And secondly, if you are doing it well, are you then promoting it back through the same system so that the customers appreciate how great the service is on whichever way they get to contact you? For example, if your CRM system only works with one or other of these channels, then you're not going to know that yesterday somebody came on with an email and the day before that they phoned up, or the day before that perhaps did a web chat. So knowing those things is very important. I think the most important one, though, is do you respond in a timely way as your customers would want it? That second part is incredibly important, especially in the regulated industries. They lay down a rule: you must reply within 48 hours or 7 days or whatever. That's not what the customers in this day and age will expect. I have to say, if I emailed a company, I would personally expect an answer within an hour. Obviously, on phone, we have these enormous queues that can build up because they're experiencing a temporary increase in their business, usually complaints. But being able to respond at the speed the customer wants it is absolutely essential. And finally on that one, and I think we'll have another little poll on this one, Jonty, what percentage of your contacts is not voice?
So we've got the poll: what percentage of your contacts is not voice? The answers are 0 to 4%, 5 to 9%, 10 to 24%, 25 to 49%, or 50% plus. So what percentage of your contacts is not voice? So if you'd like to vote on that, I'm expecting probably quite a wide spread here. I think the last statistics I saw was it's about 15% is email on average. So it'd be quite interesting to see where the results come for that. So I'll just put the results up on the screen. So we've got, yes, actually a very, very wide spread here. The most common one is 31% of the audience say it's between a quarter and a half. Surprisingly large number, 4% is over half is non-voice now, and so really quite a wide spread there, with
that really is, yeah.
in the small peak in the middle.
I think it's a pleasing reflection of the adoption of the tools, which is terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. And also that the tools have got better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And what I'd like to also do is just do a little drill down on that now and ask a question of the audience: what is your fastest growing channel within your organization? Be quite interested to see what is your fastest growing channel. Sarah is saying email. I'm expecting web chat will be quite popular. Got a number of the audience typing in. Emma says chat, Matthew chat, Suzanne web chat, Sarah email, Debbie email, Michael self-service, Danny says email for us too, Heather email, Alex says online, self-service, I am an SMS, says Rich, chat, email, Paul is saying letters are increasing dramatically.
I've heard that from several sources, especially in the US.
Michelle is saying email, but we're looking to start Skype. Got an email on Skype. We've got a webinar on Skype in about 5 weeks' time, so I think that's in April. Abdullah saying web chat. Lorraine, online ordering. Sue, letters. Phone and SMS. Online sales, says Sarah. Shane is saying CRM tasks as their biggest growth channel. So quite a range. I was expecting web chat to be coming loud and clear there, but it's certainly in there, but it's so is the email as well.
I think it also depends where you're starting from, doesn't it? I mean, if you haven't had web chat, then you suddenly put it in, that's going to be probably the fastest growth.
often think email's the forgotten channel.
Yes, I think that's right.
Something that everyone's doing and no one really wants to talk about.
Well, youth isn't using it, but adults are using it more and more.
Yeah.
So, Mike, you were going to take us through some thoughts that you have on multi-channel. Let's just get the slides up on your screen.
Great, thank you. So yeah, just from a technology perspective, my view here really about doing all channels well, and we have touched on this before. So the silos are there. We have our call handlers who only handle calls. We have our email team who only does email, etc., chat and social. And the danger with that is it's not very much thinking about the customer. So you can never deliver a consistent service to your customer. The customer will get different experiences depending upon which way they choose to come through. And believe it or not, everybody, it actually costs more to run siloed channel facilities. You're not actually getting the benefit of the resources that you have and sort of leveraging the resources. And so our argument today would be around doing it properly by putting it into a single common all-in-one type solution where you can actually deploy all those channels into a single platform. Very, very easy to measure everything now because it's all actually arriving in the same place. So from the point of view of being able to respond in a timely way, like Paul suggested earlier, this is where we can actually make that happen, and we can actually ensure that we respond to emails promptly or chats promptly, etc. So it's nice and friendly for the agents to use, as you can see, because it's all happening in one place. And this will deliver happier customers. And don't forget my earlier point, it is actually a more cost-effective way to run this type of operation. So that's my kind of take on this one with regards to technology, Jonty.
Okay, wonderful.
And I would also add much more coordinated CRM too, because it's all going to come into the same place.
Absolutely correct.
And it's certainly lack of integration is a real big headache. A lot of people are dealing with.
I believe so. Yes. Yeah, those silos are out there all over the place. I think there's huge challenges there for everyone to work with.
And I think there's a danger. A lot of people sort of scratch their heads and think it's just a bit too difficult to to integrate. What's your advice on that?
Call me.
I'm sorry. No, you're allowed one. That's fine. That's fine. I think mine, which is not necessarily brand biased, is do it. Now's the time to do it, of all times. You might even get it approved.
So let's go across and have a look at some of the tips that are coming in. If you've got any tips on how to best to deal with things like multi-channel, email, web chat, and the like, if you'd like to pop those into the box, let's go and have a look at the latest tips that have come through. I particularly like this one that comes up, sent in by Sandra. Identify CFOs, Chief Fun Officers, within your advisor population. Generally, some of your stronger personalities to devise quarterly events to give your team something to look forward to. It also helps ensure buy-in from the floor when it's coming from your peers. So not CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Fun Officer, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got no problem with that. Especially if you choose the finance officer to do it, because that could be. Oh no, I'm not even going to go there. Although I have to say, with one very, very large company I used to work with in the building trade, their chief financial officer was the head of customer service because he believed so much in getting it done and making sure it was funded in the right way. So no, we don't always write them off.
Very good. So we've got Neeraj has said monthly birthday celebrations. People feel better when their important day is celebrated by so many people together.
But never forget anybody. That's the trouble. You miss one.
Yeah, it's tricky. Michelle, ensure staff feedback is taken on board for improving systems and strategies. And also you never lose sight of keeping staff in the loop with excellent communication channels. Communication has a massive impact on team and morale and staff.
Might be mentioning that one next time too.
Let's have a look at some strategies, tips for strategies. Get your recruitment right so you have staff that are capable and competent to provide excellent service across all contact methods. People who are happy chatting on the phones are not necessarily happy typing away all day.
All right.
Yeah.
Look what happens when you get web video.
Yeah.
There's some people that will shy from it and some that will shine.
Yeah. Grammar and spelling, quite an interesting skill that is...
But remember, these are skills, Jonty. So we've been doing skill-based routing for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Whether you can type nicely or not is just a skill.
Yeah.
On that basis, we select or we don't select. So same will apply for video too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be quite fun.
Rosanna says, train and coach people, give them the tools. if you've recruited the right people, they should be able to communicate using all channels.
Correct.
And feel much happier and confident being trusted to use them than if you take a method of possible communication off them.
Yes,
so,
that's very true.
Remember, everybody has all channels in their hands every day. You know, our smartphones have got all the channels in one place.
Yeah.
We all use it every day, so using it at work shouldn't be no different.
And similar theme from Michael, make multi-channel a career step. When you got customer service on the phone, right, you can then learn on to move chat, and then you can do email, and you can even include a small raise every time, and even more responsibility. So
like badges and things. That's an excellent idea.
Yes, email and a web chat.
Oh, seriously, to do all of that stuff together. I mean, I know a very big company that does it on product. They slowly start with one product that the people can handle, and then two, and then three, and then move it across. So you could do the same thing on the receiving end. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we're now on to number 8 on our countdown. So, Paul, guess what is number 8?
Right. It's not going to take me very long to get back to people again. And so number 8 is your and your staff's development. What I'm really keen is for people to be up to date and know what they're doing and feel cared for by an organization. So are you too busy handling day-to-day issues that you and the company have neglected your personal development? When was the last time you went, not necessarily on a training course, which can sometimes be just like a sheep dip, but on other things, on going to a competitor, on going out in the marketplace, on learning new skills, on looking around the company, doing other things like that. But you are very important to this company. That's why they hired you. And sometimes you can look back and it's been 3-4 years since someone has actually done something for you. So be a little selfish. Get out there and say, it's time I had something that developed my personal side, which could then, of course, lead to other things, including promotion. Are you personally totally up to date with the latest trends in the marketplace? Do you know what people are talking about when they talk about web chat and web video? I'm sure all of our audience today do, but what about everybody else in the organization? Do some of those contact centers out there really know how old-fashioned they are when all they're really doing perhaps is just handling phone? Do you need more training to achieve your and your people's career goals? You don't, I presume most people don't want to stay where they are the rest of their lives, but even if you did, the answer must be to broaden the experience, to get more interesting things done, and that all comes from a combination of development and education and all of those sorts of things, or for even getting involved in training, developing people yourself if you've got that particular side of your personality. So self and staff development, I think, is incredibly important. Again, if you've got any tips on that, it'd be really, really useful for you to let us have them. So let's have a little look at that, see if anybody can flow anything through on their development or their staff's development. Jonty?
Okay, well, you're typing in your tips for development. We'll take a few more on multi-channel. Align how every interaction is initiated in the CRM system, and align and standardize regardless of channel. Mike, that's something you've been preaching a while, aligning your interactions.
Yeah, I mean, it all must be considered to be the same, and just the fact that they're the different media has to be different. So measure, manage, count, escalate, prioritize, transfer, that all should be standard functionality for multi-channel.
Shane says, use customer experience stats to measure satisfaction across the varying channels.
Yeah.
I think we've seen quite big variances in customer satisfaction.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Email seems to be the one where is often the greatest opportunity, because if you've got a 4-hour response time, you're not going to be getting your satisfaction statistics up.
No, you're not. And just while we're on that one, Jonty, there is, of course, the silo point is very important. If you got an email from a customer that was really urgent or whatever, it's not against the law to phone them back. You haven't got to use the same channel to respond to people as well. So moving across channels to use the best way of getting in touch with the customer, to that old phrase, surprise and delight, is very, very important. And if your contact center doesn't allow that, or you don't have somebody else handles a different part of it, I think you're missing a trick, because that's one of the things that can really up customer satisfaction.
Okay, so some tips on staff development. I like this one here. We have monthly tests on product knowledge, and always include questions on the industry to ensure staff are aware of things that may affect them and their customers. That's quite a nice, simple one. I've seen that working often in quiet times between thing if post comes around.
Yeah, I think that's very good. And also, of course, support it with information on your intranet system or other things so that people can find out what's going on.
Rosanna says, ask the team regularly what they need or want in terms of training.
Yes.
I particularly like this one on the chat room. I haven't got it on the screen. We use the webinars each week to bring together the management team in one room to listen to you guys, use the conversation to initiate ideas, and get the grey cells thinking about how we can continue to improve.
Wow. So, use that as a strap line. That's a brilliant idea. So, the more we can do our preaching to people outside the contact centre, the better. And we're on your side.
And if you want to, there is a recording available if you do want to share these with your with your management team. Eva says, make your own internal wiki and start using social media as an internal share competence channel.
That's a great idea.
I've seen that. I've seen people using their own, setting up internal Facebook groups. There's some quite good technology. I think Salesforce has got like an internal Facebook group type technology. That
Chatter, I think it's called.
Chatter, work.
We use it quite a lot.
Well, I think the wiki thing is a brilliant idea.
Planners take account of staff development when figuring out requirements. Operations management need to make sure they use it for their staff.
Yeah, putting in a percentage of time or something to allow for this sort of stuff.
Sue said, implementing a single solution for workforce management, quality monitoring, and speech analytics to allow us to identify training and development opportunities while continually enhancing the customer experience. That's a technologically...
I wish I'd written that sentence. I probably will.
So, Mike, I think you make most of that technology as well, don't you?
Yeah, we would consider that to be part of the all-in-one system, handling the multi-channel and also then adopting those techniques for, the performance improvement for your people, absolutely.
Okay, we'll take one more tip here on this section. Sharon says, make performance management a positive experience where it measures gaps and provides opportunity for investment within the individual, i.e. not telling them they're not doing well. Thank people for what they do well, help them do better in other areas, link it to strategy and personal career development.
That's good.
Absolutely.
As they say, catch someone doing something right.
Catch somebody doing something right, and the other thing is that it apparently, from research, if you are not, well, let's put it the other way around, if you tell people off about 80% of the time and you compliment them 20% of the time, they think you're on their cat, you're really onto them and you're picking on them or whatever. So you've really got to balance the compliments with the occasional advice as to what they do wrong. This almost bully management, I'm afraid, is very 1990s.
And then there's a lovely video on YouTube. I'll see if I can dig out the link for everyone. Nick Drake Knight has, I tweeted it about a week or so ago, has actually a YouTube video showing a quality review that works on the positive, I think it's called something like Step and Grow, which is all about taking people down a path of what are you doing right, what do you think, how do you think you could have done it if you're doing it differently. Very positive way of getting...
yeah, terrific. Absolutely.
Okay, Paul, so we're
all right.
Rapidly going down
over to me
down the list. So across to you for item number 7 on our countdown.
Right.
Before we do that,
yes, just a little reminder that, as Jonty said, we're going to do the 109876 today, and in 3 weeks' time, on Thursday the 13th, we're going to do the top 5. You might want to speculate what those top 5 would be as well. Any communication from you is very welcome. And also, of course, all the tips we'll be collecting up and reviewing, and champagne for 5 sections today. That's very generous. Right, let's move on. Let's move on to number 7. Bang the drum internally. What I mean there is you are important. In most organizations, the contact center is the key way in which the organization faces off to its customers. If you aren't doing the right job, if you're not given the right status, if you're not given the right resources and the right recognition, then the company suffers. And sometimes, through innocent management or having other things to do, it's not noticed unless you do something about it. So let's just look at banging the drum internally. In other words, communicating, collaborating. In fact, some of the tips that we've had already do tend to reflect this. Are you happy with your internal profile? I've heard it so many times said that, when you get out of the contact center, that they're remote, they're down in a different building, nobody ever goes down there, nobody ever sees them. And that is totally wrong. Successful organizations are the ones with very, very face-on, head-on contact centers that are the ones that build the reputation of an organization. Do other departments and management really know what you do and how important it is? Do they come and visit? Do they share? Do they sit down and listen to calls? Not to catch people out, but as you said before, to catch people doing things right and compliment them. If you were in marketing, shouldn't you be coming down to the contact center to see how well certain initiatives and certain promotions are going? If you were in finance, is there anything that could help you get things paid quicker, more simply? If the contact center, particularly if they're on customer service, are always hearing complaints about invoicing or other financial issues, how do they get that back? Well, they get it back by the people coming down and having a look. Our company career paths designed to ensure exposure to the contact center. I have to be very simple here, and I did used to do this when I had a real job. Everybody who is on some sort of development program, whether it's a graduate training program or an accelerated development program, must spend some time working in the call center, because then they are in touch with the customers and they're in touch with the people in the organization who are in touch with the customers. It's absolutely essential that happens, and of course it should be encouraged by you in the contact center to welcome them in, because then you're basically seeding the company with people that know what you do rather than people that don't know what you do. And finally, do you use industry award programs to promote themselves? Now, I've been involved with industry award programs for, I don't know, 20 years or so. There's been the ICS ones, there's the CFTN ones, there's the European Call Center Awards. There's many, many more that are all on websites and things. And they are a very, very good way, A, for you to practice and get better at what you do, B, to make your people feel good, and C, when you do win some, to tell the rest of the company how good you are. You know? If marketing department or sales department are particularly good, you can bet your life that they go in for some form of awards in their industry, and so should the contact center. They're easy to enter, they're very, very good, I have to say, having been a judge for so many years on all of them. I won't pick any out in particular, but through Call Center Helper website, you'll see most of them exposed on there, and they are really an excellent way to do business. So that's my number 7. If you've got any more top tips on banging the drum internally, let us have them pretty much now. But in the meantime, Mike is going to give you a few things about banging on the drum.
Yeah, so this is something which we really like to talk about a lot, and we've got some tools on board our platform which kind of help us to deliver this really. And the best way to describe it is we have like a live window into the contact center, and it's designed really for internal colleagues like management, even like agents if it's necessarily for agents view. But it's also been designed for if you're actually running a contact center as an outsourcer, and your clients want to have a view inside the contact center to see how well you're doing with their calls. So kind of building on that technology, we've been able to display this information very, very broadly around organizations or external parties, whether it's on wall boards or LED screens, monitors. You can see the list there. And the nice thing is it kind of shares this performance, if you will, of the contact center with everybody. And, you know, I'd like to see this sort of information to be available in the reception areas as you kind of enter into a business for your guests, for your customers, for visitors. The sort of information to be shared thoroughly throughout the organization, certainly through management, and absolutely in the CEO's office. Because really this is where everybody is part of the common team, and we're all working together to deliver a great service to our customers. So these kind of tools and these kind of summaries just nicely show how we're doing as a contact center in the overall part of the business. I think it's an excellent way to sort of bang the drum throughout the wider organization.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to pick up a couple of tips now. Just have a look at the things you've sent through. Just on the last topic, staff development should be long-term for future roles, not just for the role they're in now. The highest levels of motivation from what staff do over and above in their current role is a nice one. And Richard has said, we have launched this year learning academies, which use a senior management team and SMEs covering subjects such as leadership, project management, technology, customer engagement and support. Really useful, cost-effective, but extremely valuable for staff.
Oh, yeah, and both ways, of course.
Yes.
Down and up, which is great.
Which is very good. So let's have a look at banging the drum internally. Some cracking ones here. Sue has said, as head of the contact centre, I invited our COO and CFO to come back to the floor for the day, listening to calls, understanding how we operate. Our CFO was amazed at the level of knowledge and skills required. This has changed the perception of the vision, now mean our thoughts and proposals are now listened to.
Fabulous.
So if you're looking for budget, invite
Fabulous.
the CFO in.
Yep.
Often invite the CEO or the head in, but not necessarily thinking about the finance department. That's a smart one, that one.
It is.
Sandra, everyone from the MD to the pickers in the warehouse have been invited to our floor to understand what we do and take part in interactive mixed training sessions. We also lend out our guides to other parts of the business. Only yesterday, 2 of our guys left emails behind and went into the warehouse and picked. It is initiatives like this that won us a European Service Centre award this year.
Brilliant.
So
Congratulations.
some fascinating.
I know which one that is.
So Paul, I think some great ideas.
Absolutely, great stuff. Just keep them coming in, and we'll keep on publishing them around. Right. Back to me, I think.
Indeed. There you go.
Right, number 6, the last one we're going to do today. Actually, it leads on from the thing Mike was just saying, because those visual methods of getting all the data together and banging the drum internally and showing them to people, of course, are primarily showing performance. So number 6 on the chart is performance. And remember, we're looking at this strategically, not the day-to-day issues of performance. So I think we'll have a poll on this one, because I think it's one I'd like to really know the answers to. Do you benchmark with other organizations, especially those in different market sectors? Tell you why that's important at the end of the poll.
Okay, let me just get the poll up on the screen here.
Well, perhaps I'll tell you before you get another poll.
So, do you benchmark with other organizations, particularly those in different market sectors? The answers are yes, no, it's handled by another department, or not sure. So if you'd just like to vote on that, do you benchmark with other organizations? So if you could just put your results into the box there, and we'll share the results with you. So here we are, the results of the poll. 32% yes, 38% no, 12% handled by another department, 18%, that's a high number, not sure. Which
Hey, see, that's the reason I wanted it as a poll. Those numbers are exactly what I expected. In fact, I expected slightly less of the yeses. People don't understand. I mean, in every industry, there are common things that go on in contact centers. It doesn't matter whether you're in utilities or the banks or the retail sector or the public sector. There are basic things that you could share with other organizations to improve both yourself and them without competing with them. Finding out how a particular organization does in a contact center and then implementing those ideas. I mean, I'll give you one example, which is around here and that I know. Surrey County Council. The people at Surrey County Council are very, very happy to share. Now, I don't want everybody calling them up, but they are a great example of being able to tell other people what they do and then getting feedback as well. And many, many organizations are prepared to do it, but you just got to get in touch with the right people and get them to agree with it. The fact that you've got 12% handled by another department, I think is a bit worrying, because that will almost certainly be marketing, and therefore they're probably benchmarking the wrong things. And I just believe that the contact center should own this, and I believe that they should not only benchmark with other organizations, but they should get around them and get and see what's going on. I've had such experience and such feedback from going into hundreds and hundreds of totally different contact centers, basically all over Europe, and learned from every one of them and then tried to pass them on to other things. So I'm not surprised at that data, but I would really love to see that yes up around about the 70 or 80% mark.
Indeed. So let's just hide that and change back to you, Paul.
Okay, super, thank you. It does. There we go. Right, the next two, are you maximizing performance by having a strong liaison with the other departments in your organization, especially marketing and sales? It's a little bit different from this banging your own trumpet, banging your own drum thing, mixed metaphors. Actually working with people, feeding stuff back, the liaison. I know organizations where the marketing department comes out with a campaign, they tell the contact center probably on the Sunday night that it's coming out on Monday, and by lunchtime on Monday they have to pull the campaign because it's just not feasible through the systems or processes that the organization has in place at that moment. So getting them to work together, working with these people to maximize things must be to the benefit of the whole organization. I see too much conflict here, too much turf control, too many people where marketing thinks they're more important or sales thinks they're more important. I've got to tell you, I know I'm biased in this, but the contact center is always the more important. But the other two are key to working together. Those three areas and the other areas in the organization really could make a major difference to the overall performance of the organization, the reputation of the organization, and the overall success long-term of it. And then the last one, are all the processes that maximize your performance under your control? Now that really is a key question to ask of all of you that are contact center managers or at that sort of level, because if you can't change it, if you can't do things that will maximize that performance, other people are setting them. That's just not fair. It's not fair to your staff. It's not fair to you because you're being measured on something that you haven't helped put together. So really, anything that affects you, and I would include systems in this, I really would want personally to see contact center management getting really heavily involved in it. And I can't imagine Mike would disagree with me on that one, Mike.
Oh, not at all, really. It's a kind of a bugbear that we have from our perspective, and very much it kind of builds on the apologies. It kind of builds on the sort of strategy that we had originally when we designed our technology. You know, we kind of started the idea of all-in-one with absolute purpose in mind, and that is to make life easy for the people who are running the business. And from our perspective, that is the agents and the supervisors. So if you have an organization where you've got a very large sort of analyst team who do all your reporting for you, and if you want any performance information, you've got to go somewhere to kind of get that. We really don't, you know, that doesn't resonate well with us because it's kind of separating sort of like the detail of what's actually in that reporting to us, what we believe is actually happening in the center itself. So our strategy has always been to make the tools easy to use, bring them straight to the desktop of the person who needs them. And here's a great example of a supervisor desktop where on the workspaces on the left you can see a list of tabs, and here you can actually see what information this supervisor can actually reach as part of their daily job. So I don't need to actually go and sort of have an expert specific for recording or quality. I don't need to have somebody in the back office who crunches all this data for me. I have straightforward, you know, out of the box, simple to use reports that can get me going like on day one, and very easy to reach straight from a single common desktop. That's our kind of strategy, and the customers where we deploy this tool, they really love this because it's just so easy. And although you can see all the kind of common names here on the right-hand side, the ones that I mentioned earlier about process automation, it's becoming more and more important, if you like, I'm seeing in the contact center. The way that we can actually define a transaction now, not necessarily as a task or like an event, like a call or an email, but actually a process. You know, I want to onboard a customer. The customer wants to join your service. I mean, that is a process, and we should be measuring that full process, not just the little series of events that take place to onboard the customer. And being able to illustrate your performance against those processes, what I'm finding now is customers are finding that very interesting and very valuable, and it's proving to be far more meaningful to them than necessarily just counting all the minutiae events and transactions that take place. So I think when you can get all your tools in one place, absolutely, we can make it very effective for performance to be driven thoroughly through the organization, and absolutely in the contact center. That would be our belief for sure.
There's also the issue of organizations using statistics to hit people over the head with,
Correct.
or to use those statistics to improve themselves and improve the quality
Correct.
and improve the results.
Correct.
And by having it at the fingertips of the contact center rather than imposed from another department, I think has got to be cutting out a lot of that hitting over the head. Because all that's happening is the contact center people are running around trying to find out why something happened.
Correct.
And very often it's just a one-off.
Yeah. And you know, we kind of see, and like the name of the tool is like Interaction Center Business Manager. You know, we kind of see the role as a business manager, and therefore to have access and readily available information to help you drive your business, you know, the performance of the contact center. That to us is the purpose of providing this information readily at your fingertips, not to be edited, not to be adjusted, not to be redefined by somebody else, but to allow you to manage your business. So we find it works very well.
I think certainly speech analytics is probably one of the most exciting things that's happened to performance management, because no longer it's, you know, just on short calls or long calls or stuff like that. You can actually look for certain trends, go and look for areas where people need really help with training, and
speeds up that process very, very much, and allows you to actually get to the nuggets of good behavior and nuggets of bad behavior, and kind of root them out or encourage them, whichever way it needs to be set. But when it's at your fingertips and very, very visible, you can actually use it as a useful tool. When it's hidden away and managed by a department of 45 reporting analysts, and I've seen these divisions and these departments, very scary they are too, as far as I'm concerned, that worries me as far as how I'm actually doing in my contact center.
So let's go and have a look at some of the top tips from the audience. Who's going to win this fifth bottle of champagne that Paul has announced? We're going to be handing out 5. So this is on our last section, putting the voice of the customer at the heart of the balanced scorecard for executive management changes the perception of how the contact center is perceived. That's certainly a good way to bang the drum, as is weekly team talks for each department, which is scheduled into the forecast and are classed as being important as taking calls. Your staff can't take calls without up-to-date information to deal with them. Invest in your staff. Certainly, often see training. You know, as soon as the call volumes rise, training goes, and that's a very slippery.
Well, I was given a very good tip on training years and years ago, actually in the public sector, because we all know that the first budget that gets cut in any sort of times is training. And this person said, it's very simple. I have no training budget in my whole company, in none of the departments, because training is such an integral part of day-to-day business that it should come out of the budget. And so therefore, if there's no line on the budget that says training, there's no line that can be cut. But it's expected of every department that they build in a training function or whatever to get the job done. And if that's what can help you get around those silly cutting training for the sake of it, then by all means take it from me.
Suzanne says, we try to use our communications channel to do things such as blogs, a 24 hours with,
good idea,
and have a people store in which it's celebrating all the great things our people do on site. We also have a global group of engagement ambassadors who own a microsite on our intranet and celebrate all the great things that happen on.
Brilliant.
Site. Mike, that sounds
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's exactly what
like a great idea there.
we would do.
Right, let's have a look at some of your ideas for performance. Let's have a look, see what we've got. Try to get away from the tall poppy syndrome. Anyone heard of that one before?
Yes. Yes. It's not knocking. As soon as somebody comes up with something successful, you know, they get knocked down and put back into the.
And you can't knock a poppy down.
You can't knock it. You just chop it off as soon as somebody puts their head. It's this head above the parapet thing.
No idea.
For goodness sake, that's what we should. They're the people that we should be using.
Yeah.
Exactly here. Use them as successful.
Don't shoot the messenger.
No, that's right. But also don't be too rigid in job descriptions and jobs. If someone's really good at something, languages or whatever, use it.
Have a member of your marketing team assigned to each of your sales teams, like a buddy.
Oh yeah.
A point of reference that each can share knowledge and get feedback from. So,
yeah, it's good.
That's a great idea. And Jonty, I've seen a silly rule example where we've had a sales contact center not allowed to actually share and compare the team's performance. I mean, what's the point in having motivation? We beat you guys this week. Well, sorry, I can't actually say that. Like, really was a very difficult sales environment for me to work in. But it was there.
Yeah.
Good answer, though, for that one.
Yeah, good. Like that.
Benchmarking. Customers will judge you against the best, not industry.
Correct.
Amazon, regardless if your financial services aim high on service.
Quite right.
I guess there's always danger of benchmarking that, you know, it could show you we're no worse than the other guys.
Another Tom Peters quote. Yeah, we're no worse than anybody else.
If the opportunity is there for you to define the new benchmark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
everybody can do that. You have the power.
Indeed. Sounds like one for you, Mike. Richard said, performance benchmarking data has to be simple, easy to read and memorable. Go minimum on the reporting dashboard at all levels.
Yeah, I am worried about over-reporting, I have to say.
Yeah. The worst one is these, I can't remember, there's a balanced scorecard, is it called?
Yes.
I saw one that had 27 statistics in the contact center on. It was always about a month behind because it took so long to get all the different bits on. And
what you do there, of course, is that you have a flavour of the month issue immediately brought in, because someone will say, this month we are going to do this, and everything else gets abandoned or ignored or whatever. So you don't actually make it, move it forward.
And it becomes a silly rule.
A very silly rule. Back to my silly rule. Well done.
Let's have a look. We've been currently working together on recent initiatives which has been seen a more effective, efficient and successful output. The key stakeholder group being operations, insight, change management, process improvement, customer experience, learning and development, training and comms.
A strategy group.
Wow.
Exactly what I've just been saying.
Yeah.
Good.
From Suzanne. And processes and associated systems and documentation must be maintained and trained. Regular reviews across all operations is essential. Linking detailed processes all the way up to strategy is something that is a must, but is very rarely achieved.
You're absolutely right, Sharon.
So, absolutely loads of apologies if we haven't been able to get yours up on the screen currently. Right. So, Paul, would you like to take us through a quick summary of what we've covered today?
Okay. Very quickly, number 10 was fun and morale. Number 9 was do all channels well. Number 8, self and staff development, and I am very interested particularly in your development, dear listeners. Bang the drum internally, and the performance issues that we made. And remember that we're talking stepping back from the day-to-day here, the really, really big things. And when we get to the next 5, I think you're going to find we're stepping even further back to really get a 360 on the whole company.